189 out, we're going strong. 189 out, the game goes on.
Change is the only constant in life. It is the catalyst for progress, shapes our journey, and opens doors to new opportunities and possibilities. And in fact, change, when driven by technology, it can reshape our world and redefine the boundaries of what is possible. And what is generally true for life is true for cricket as well. From the rustic fields of the early 19th century to the high-tech arenas of today, the evolution of technology in cricket over the past 180 years has transformed the game completely, blending tradition with innovation to create a sport that is as much about precision engineering as it is about athletic prowess. From basic gear and manual scoring in the early times to today's sophisticated technology enhancing every aspect of the game, cricket has undergone a significant transformation. These advancements have improved the accuracy of officiating, the effectiveness of coaching, the quality of equipment, and the overall experience for the players and fans alike. No aspect of the game has been left untouched. Everything from batting techniques, the shape of the bat, to the bowling actions and bowling rules, as well as fielding, field layouts, and even captaincy decisions. All of them have been impacted by the changing technology. Even if you go off the field, coaching, physiotherapy, commentary, viewer experience, and even the way we watch cricket has changed over the years. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of 180 Not Out. I'm your host, Raman Raheja, a fan of cricket, just like you. Over the course of recording this podcast, I spoke to 60 plus legends and experts of world cricket and asked them about their views on how technology has helped shape the sport over the years. This episode is all about technology.
डेटा के साथ आप ड्रिवन तो हो बट उतना ना हो जाओ कि आप अपनी गट और उसको छोड़ दीजिए कि नहीं यार ये ऐसे नहीं कि मैंने इसको आउट किया तो इसको ले आओ, ऐसे नहीं होता है. जो पीछे हो चुका वो हो चुका, आज की बात जो है वो अलग होगी. सो यू नो इफ दैट वाज द केस आई फील लैपटॉप का नाम होता सर डॉन ब्रैडमैन, है ना.
You know, you can get a lot of stats out of it, like bowlers, how they bowl, where they bowl, and batters where they hit and stuff like that. And that's like, to me, it's a 1%er that if you can sort of get a sort of gauge on what players are doing these days. So that's also a helpful thing that you can have from all this technology.
The DRS system, I think not everyone's happy with it, but you know, there's good parts, there's bad parts, there's issues around whether it empowers the umpires or it actually makes it, you know, a little bit, takes it out of their hands. So at the moment, I think that's an area that everyone is sort of hoping there's major changes.
At the end of the day, a camera is on you 24/7, so you don't really have that chance to really make an error or do something stupid because you've been watched 24/7, and players now know that at the end of the day, if I do something good, it will be broadcast and it will be spread like wildfire. Vice versa, if I do something bad, it could be the same. So I think technology is great for cricket.
Remember Lagan, the movie that went to Oscars? The way Amir Khan's team prepared and then played the match? Bat, pads, wickets, ball, etc. Raw stuff that was. But actually, that's how it was. If you Google about cricket in the 19th century, you would get visuals of players with rudimentary cricket gear like man-made pads and gloves, basic wooden bats, manual scorecards, handcrafted leather balls amongst other stuff. Nothing was standardized till the early 20th century. Thereafter, we saw standardized gear and manual scorecards displaying the status of the matches played. Some of my early memories about cricket has been from the 1980s and the 90s. You may recall that back in the 80s or 90s, street side pan shops, barber shops, or basically any place with a television, or in fact sometimes even a radio, would be crowded when a cricket match was going on. There would always be somebody there, hands on their hips, passing a comment about how Gavaskar or later Sachin needs to bat, or Azharuddin needs to set his field. Today, however, that has changed. One of the biggest ways in which cricket has been affected by technology is by the very way we watch the sport. Gone are the days when you need to tune into the radio or turn on the TV to watch a cricket match. Today, thanks to streaming platforms and cricket apps, you can watch or stay connected with cricket anytime, anywhere. In fact, watching cricket is itself a technological innovation. The sport of cricket predates even the invention of the radio. In the late 19th century, newspaper reports would be the only way non-spectators would know of the match. One of the earliest radio broadcasts of cricket dates back to 1922. About a decade later, Charlie Bennett and Len Hutton would make history as these two England batters became the first cricketers to show up on a TV broadcast of an international cricket match in June 1938. However, for the next 15 years, there wasn't much attraction to televised cricket, partly due to the World War that immediately followed, and partly due to the fact that not enough people owned a television set. The tipping point for cricket, as well as for TVs, both came in 1953, the year of Queen Elizabeth II's coronation. As per a BBC report, the number of TV licenses shot up from 763,000 in 1951 to 3.2 million in 1954. Almost a 5 times jump. There was no looking back from that point onwards. The advent of mobiles has changed the way cricket is consumed in modern times. Live streaming or digital streaming is the new buzzword. It has in fact surpassed the appeal of TV broadcasts. Here is what my friend Prasanna, a broadcast exponent, earlier the head of Spony Sports, and now a co-founder of FanCode, India's first sports OTT platform, has to say.
The transformation in the landscape in the last 2 decades, since I've been here in this industry, it's so dramatic that at times when you reflect back on where we started off, it's a very telling story. Let's look at mid-2000s, for instance, when television was the primary medium and television had fairly evolved very well, and yet access was so limited because of lack of digital cable or digitization, DTH, etc. still in early stages. Essentially, you were the access that a consumer got to sports content was extremely limited. The real estate was limited. You could only consume 1 or 2 pieces of content at a point of time, and possibility of concurrency, possibility of user choice, possibility of niche interest, all that did not exist. And what technology has been able to do in the last, in this period is solve for this problem of access. It's kind of opened out a infinite real estate for sports content to be available to the users. And so a user who earlier on was, let's say, dependent on a cable operator for one channel that was given to him in an analog cable environment, today has the option of choosing from 1,000 different options from all over the world.
Besides streaming of live cricket or highlights, another new behavior that mobile technology has brought is the way fans stay connected to cricket. The live score apps. CricBuzz, Cricinfo, and many more such apps thrive on the live scorecards. In fact, there are more users consuming cricket on such apps than on TVs or OTTs. Surprise? Well, me too. These tech platforms are a blessing for the promotion of cricket and have contributed immensely in the exponential growth of the sport. Now fans can stay connected with almost any relevant international or domestic cricket match in the world through such score display apps. Nowadays, even the local street cricket matches can be captured and broadcast through such apps, thus giving a wider coverage to cricket across the fans around the world. But it is not just the viewership that has changed. Technology has brought in several changes for the cricketers too. Technology for players come in at various fronts. A lot of in-field decisions are now driven by tech. Right from field placements to shot selection, tech drives a lot of it these days. Even the process of team selection is now done after running the data past algorithms which predict the players who have a better statistical chance of success. Apart from their own personal performances, it is also an Excel sheet that determines the selection of a player these days. We've seen this happen for a long while in sports like basketball, where the draft picks are heavily influenced by statistics, and with time, this is going to get increasingly prominent in the cricketing world as well. However, do the numbers in sheet actually translate into performance on the field? Irfan Pathan gives me a real world example.
This thing, as far as the technology is concerned, it will try to rule you. That will be a time, and we have seen with quite a few teams. I'll take an example of KKR team. They had a one analysis guy who was actually traveling with him. England was traveling with him as well. So and they used to send the numbers from outside. So basically that's through the technology, and then they have a plan and they're trying to put it the plan in the game as well. Sometime it can go wrong because every condition is different, every team players are different, but at the same time the same player who was struggling in the slow pitch last year might be in a great form this year, and he might have worked out few things and things have changed. So that is why I said use technology, but you be the one who's who's in control, and if you're not, then I think things can go wrong many times.
During the course of this podcast, I talked to many legends and experts of the game, and a common theme across the conversation was that most cricketers held the view that while tech is good, too much of technology can actually interfere with their natural instinct. First, listen to S. Badrinath.
The machine or the analyst can only give you data, but the instinct of a player, the player's instinct, it's the most powerful thing in the world. I think for a player, if a bowler is standing there bowling the 20th over at a batsman, he can still have the data that this guy gets runs behind the wicket, this guy runs over fine leg or hit straight. But अगर आपके हाथ में बॉल है, वो बॉल को एग्जीक्यूट करना, वो इंस्टिंक्ट होना आपके हाथ में है. आप जो वो यॉर्कर परफेक्टली एग्जीक्यूट किया तो जो भी बैट्समैन हो, जो भी ऑप्शन हो, वो खेल नहीं सकता. तो वो प्लेयर का इंस्टिंक्ट हम चेंज ही नहीं कर सकता. एंड अगर मैं बैटिंग भी उधर खड़ा रहा हूँ, मेरे को पता है बॉलर इधर ही डालेगा, ये फील्ड उधर है, बट मेरा इंस्टिंक्ट है, मैं तो बैकअप करूँगा मिडिल ऑफ द बैट में, जब लगेगा एलिवेशन मिलेगा, मेरे को उधर मिलेगा छक्का. वो ये इंस्टिंक्ट तो सबसे पावरफुल चीज़ है, वो चेंज ही नहीं कर सकता ना, तो मशीन खेल सकता है जाके अंदर. So I feel that the player's instinct it will never change. Only the data can be given, but the execution, the confidence that you have, I think it cannot be got overnight. And the experience of what to do in that particular situation, which bowler to take on in that particular situation, and what he is doing that day, इसको target, ये सब बहुत ज़्यादा चीज़ अंदर है, वो सिर्फ एक ह्यूमन ही करता है और एक प्लेयर ही करता है. So I think yes, analytical data, everything, it's giving the data. I don't think it's positive or it's negative or detrimental or anything, but the player's instinct, it's still, earlier we used to rely a lot more on instinct, just pure instinct, but now there is data also to give you a little, help you. Yes.
Analysis paralysis is a popular management phrase where one is bombarded with too much of information and data on something. It can actually be counterproductive and makes decision making even more tougher. Legendary South African batter Hashim Amla had something similar to tell me, as he points out that data can sometimes act as a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword, I think it's easier and it's more difficult in the same token. Depending if you can manage and stay focused on the actual art of cricket, of your batting, bowling or fielding, then it becomes useful. There's old age saying, paralysis through analysis, if you do too much of it, you could just, get bogged down in your mind of this technical thing, that technical thing, and you almost sometimes forget watching the ball, that type of basic stuff. So yes, it is. When we had started, there was quite a bit of analysis, and I remember you get scrutinized for every single technical aspect of yours, and probably it's still the same now. You're going to be questioned. Once you play international cricket, that's when the scrutiny really starts, because domestic cricket, you've been scoring runs, and yes, a couple of hundred, a couple of thousand people can see you scoring runs or taking wickets, but only when you hit the international scene do you have the commentators questioning everything.
Continuing on the similar lines of what Hashim Amla pointed out, former Indian player Stuart Binney also had something similar to say. He points out that he's not too big a fan of excessive analysis into his batting.
Look, it's a fine balance. I think a lot of players like technology in their games. I was personally someone who didn't like too much of analysis on my batting. Whether we had our video guys showing us different shots that didn't come off, or your technique is changed in the last 2-3 months. I was someone personally who didn't like that. But guys love it. I mean, guys like to see where they are in technology, where their bat swings are coming from, what is their slower ball releases. Even with the DRS also, I find it strange sometimes because when I played in the IPL, we didn't have any DRS at the time. It was all on instinct, and things have definitely changed. It makes things a lot more challenging as a cricketer, because you're not only focusing on that batsman and the fielder. There's a lot more going on around you. So I think technology has helped, but then it takes time also to learn when to use your technology. I think that's key. When someone wants to use technology, he should be open enough to use it, not just use it because it's there.
Munaf Patel, the former Indian bowling legend, told me that while technology can be really helpful across both batting and bowling, there is a basic instinct that cricketers will continue to follow, and the basics of the game cannot be dictated by technology.
अपने अपनी सोच है, अगर उस चीज़ को आप मानो तो इजी कर दिया है, आप मानो तो हार्ड कर दिया है, क्योंकि दोनों तरफ का फ़ायदा है। मैं बॉलर हूँ, मैं आपकी वीकनेस जानने की कोशिश करूँगा, आप बैट्समैन हो, आप मेरी वीकनेस जानने की कोशिश करूँगा, लेकिन मैं कहता हूँ कि डिसिप्लिन और आपका जो है बेस वो चेंज नहीं हो सकता है। आप बैट्समैन हो तो आपके बेसिक के हिसाब से ही जाना है कि आप टेस्ट क्रिकेट खेल रहे हो, 200 बॉल खेलोगे तो 100 रन होने हैं, वो बेसिक है आपका, आप वो नहीं कर सकते। हाँ, लाइफ में एक बार हो सकता है कि 100-125 बॉल में आपने सेंचुरी बना दी, हर टाइम आप नहीं बना सकते। और मैं बॉलर हूँ तो मुझे पता है कि मेरी लेंथ, कंसिस्टेंसी, स्विंग कितना इंपॉर्टेंट है, बाउंसर मारना कितना इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो वो चीज़ बेसिक नहीं भूल सकते आप। कितनी भी टेक्नोलॉजी आ जाए, खेलना अपने गेम ही है। तो मैं ये चीज़ कहता हूँ कि टेक्नोलॉजी कितनी भी आ जाए, आप आपके बेसिक से दूर नहीं हो सकते।
Kevin Peterson also tells me something similar. During our conversation, KP actually brought up the fact that tech is maybe better suited for a game like golf because there aren't too many variables and the ball remains still. In cricket, however, KP relies more on his free spirit.
I actually think it gives players the opportunity that if they are of that mindset to want to tap into technology, they can. Like, I'm not into that mindset. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that tech guy that wants to just go out there and think, okay, well, the ball is spinning this much, I need to do this. Like, I'm a free-spirited guy. I walk out to bat this evening and I just go, okay, what's this wicket like? Hit a couple of balls and okay, if it's there, it can go because I'm actually feeling good. Not getting too technical about it. How am I holding my bat? What am I doing? I mean, you guys all know that I love my golf.
Yeah.
There you can be technical because you have to be technical. It's a ball that's standing still by itself and you've got to make it play. There's so many different variations. You've got Harbhajan here who's standing just here. He got me this evening and it was a delivery that probably should have been hit for 6. It wasn't hit for 6, but it's the natural variation of what happened there. I can't be thinking about my technique. What did I do there? Why did I do this? Did I do this? You don't even have time to think technique.
While data can lead to some sort of analysis paralysis, other legends of the sport actually told me that it can be pretty beneficial for them. Mitch McLanagan, the former New Zealand pacer, supports the use of data, stating that it does benefit the bowler to know the areas in which the batter is weak. Listen to Mitch.
Yeah, I think data from a bowling point of view is very important. You talk about batters getting very good at hitting at the death or even in the power play. And sometimes you feel like that some batters, you look at their highlights and you feel like they don't have a weakness. And team analysts are now becoming very important, showing you areas where batters have a lower strike rate. So if you are under pressure, that you can bowl in that area and hopefully go for 1, or areas that they get dismissed a little bit more frequently, or what they do. Sometimes guys will run down the wicket and some analysts will be able to tell you the next ball he's going to sit back. So you just need those little pieces of information which are provided by technology. Everything's on the laptops now, they send it out to you to be able to give you that advantage. In terms of technology, in terms of bats and all that kind of stuff, I think it's exciting for the fans because you're seeing far more sixes. You really are, and that's why we turn up to watch cricket, right? We want to see boundaries and sixes, and we want to see bowlers bowling fast, or we want to see Harbhajan spin the ball past the bat. You know, it's all about that. So I don't have an issue with technology.
Former Indian pacer Ashok Dinda also tells me something very similar. He too points out that understanding the strengths and weaknesses of batters does benefit the bowlers in a game. He also points out that thanks to the multiple cameras these days, there are different kinds of information on the players that wasn't available in the past.
जब भी बॉलिंग मीटिंग होता था हमारा, वो सारे लेजेंड वहाँ पर एक रूम पे बॉलिंग डिस्कस करते थे. वहाँ से भी आप बहुत कुछ डेवलप कर सकते हो. सो बहुत कुछ बैटर्स के बारे में, अपोजिशन बैटर्स के बारे में, वीक पॉइंट, स्ट्रॉन्ग एरिया, अनकम्फर्टेबल, कहाँ पर उनको बॉलिंग करने से विकेट मिलेगा. ये सब टेक्नोलॉजी भी बहुत आ गया. सो ईच एंड एवरी प्लेयर के ऊपर कैमरा लगा हुआ है कि उसने कहाँ पर उनका अनकम्फर्टेबल है, कहाँ पर स्ट्रॉन्ग जोन है, वो मैच के पहले दिखा देते हैं. उसी हिसाब से प्रैक्टिस करते हैं. सो मैच में उसको यूटिलाइज करना, दैट इज डिफरेंट.
Christopher Mofu, the Zimbabwean legend, tells me that having access to so much video footage these days actually helps him analyze his own game and make it better.
You know, when I started in 2004, we had an analyst, but it wasn't as good as you want. Now sometimes I don't think I need an analyst. I just get the video. I go home and I see this could be the wrong part that I need to work on, and then I'm looking at the opposition. These days I just watch the game, especially before I started playing these games a few days ago. I just watched the game and I said, this is what I'm going to do to this better. So it has made things much easier, but I would say it makes the job a little bit easy and hard at the same time, because as an umpire, just for an example, as you're an umpire and you see yourself giving a decision and you look at the big screen, the ball is just pitched outside leg stump by a mile or something like that. It puts other people under pressure, but I still think it is a good thing.
It is not just the batting and the bowling that has been affected by the technology, but so has coaching. Listen to Robin Singh, a coach and mentor to a number of teams over the years in India and across various other leagues around the world. He tells me that coaching too has been influenced by technology. Both the teams now have a level playing field and both of them are looking at data all the time.
A lot of people like data, a lot of coaches like information, data, but how do you use it to your advantage on the ground is important, right? It cannot dictate the ability of somebody or what you have to go there and play. Even the opposition is looking at data. and there is always a counter for what you are planning, right? It's how quickly as an individual you understand the game and you're able to react to that. And I think T20 is an exact replica of that. So you can have anything you want, whatever technology you want, whatever data you want, right? At the end of the day, you have to make an assessment when you sit here and you go out there. And when you go out there and you play, it's all in the head, right? It's about you versus that ball at the end of the day, irrespective of what happens. And nothing else matters. Data, information, does not matter. It's about how you react to what is coming your way.
Umpiring too has witnessed quite the change. The first major innovation that came to cricket was the third umpire, when Sachin Tendulkar was judged run out by TV umpire Carl Liebenberg on November 14, 1992. Until then, cricket had just 2 umpires on the field, but things changed from there on, as then came a number of innovations, including technologies such as the hotspot, snickometer, the stump mic, and most importantly the umpire decision review system, later shortened to just the DRS, decision review system. Some people even call it Dhoni review system. However, before we get there, let me share some insights from how it was before these major changes in the technology came in. During a conversation with legendary Syed Kirmani, member of the Indian squad that won the 1983 World Cup, he tells me about a time before these umpiring innovations came in, umpiring used to be biased. What? Sometimes even Indian umpires would even succumb to the pressures put on by the loud appeals from the visiting teams. Wow, and I thought appealing was only limited to the Indian players.
All these third umpire, match referee, all these, in our time there was nobody. There were umpires who were biased everywhere. Biased to the core, right? And now because of that there used to be misunderstanding amongst the players themselves due to the biased decisions taken by the Australian umpires, Pakistani umpires, New Zealand umpires. You go anywhere. I will also go to the extent of saying this, that our Indian umpires were incompetent, with due respect. Right, they would get pressurized by the appeal of the foreign cricketers. They would all go together in an appeal. Even if there is no catch, they would go in an appeal, and the Indian umpires they succumb to that appeal, and foreign immediately up the finger goes.
Mr. Kirmani also narrated a story that even after neutral umpires came in, there were still some biased decisions. He narrates an interesting story involving the legendary Bishan Singh Bedi and Sir Vivian Richards.
Even the neutral umpires were biased. I have faced that. I have come across those neutral umpires. You see, it's an English umpire who's umpiring a match against India and West Indies. Now, he would love to see Viv Richards get 100, and he's not giving him out. You see, this has happened, Raman Saab. You see, and clear stumping of Bishan Bedi in West Indies, of Viv Richard. You see, his foot was still outside. I'm showing the umpire, his foot is still outside and you're still not giving him out. No, that's it. And Viv turns around and says, for him on. That's it. So these were the things which were neutral umpires. Then came in the third umpires. Then came in the microphones. Then came in the DRS. Then came in the technology was mind-boggling now. It is mind-boggling right now. It helps. It helps for sure. No two ways. In the time to come, I might see robots instead of humans standing up there.
From then to now, a lot has changed in cricket, and most of these technological innovations have been well received. However, when the DRS came around, there was actually quite a buzz in cricketing circles all over the world. there were apprehensions from players, from boards, and possibly even from the umpires themselves. I spoke to Adrian Griffith, the guy who worked with ICC for 14 years in the management and used to manage the match officials all over the world. He was also instrumental in the efforts to implement the DRS. I asked him about what the thought was behind the DRS, and he tells me that it was brought forward to correct certain glaring mistakes in the sport.
Cricket is played by humans, and there's still a human element to it. So I think like I said, the ethos and the way of thinking is, the umpire makes a decision on the field. If the players believe that decision is not correct, they have the opportunity to challenge it, and that's what the technology is used for. So that's the philosophy. The philosophy is it's a human game. The umpire makes a decision, and the teams can challenge if they believe that it is incorrect. Again, if you look at historically as well, the umpire made a decision on field. It's a judgment call, and persons accept that. But now you have the opportunity that if you don't believe, and again, technology is just for those occasions where it's a glaring mistake. That was the philosophy for it, to correct glaring mistakes, not the ones that are 50-50 or could be close. I think the intent was the ones that were what we call howlers, to be able to have a mechanism in place to correct that. And that's the philosophy of the technology.
Adrian also tells me that when the technology was introduced, the match officials didn't have a lot of problem. He also pointed out that they are professionals, and even if there were errors, the margin was only in millimeters.
No, I don't think the match officials think that way at all. We also have to remember that, especially at the highest level, these guys are very, very good at what they do. And I think the technology also shows that. Again, they're human and they may make errors, but the errors are not big errors. There's just millimeters in it. So I think one of the things that the technology has also shown is that these match officials are absolutely brilliant at what they do. And they need credit for that, because it's not an easy thing. If you think about it, we have jobs where we may make a mistake, and people may know or may not know, but it's not for the whole world to see. And these guys get scrutiny straight away. And more often than not, the technology shows that the decisions that they have made with the information that was in front of them have been very, very good decisions. So I think the technology has assisted them. One of the things that I haven't noticed in my time in watching it, because we watched every single decision for years, and it shows that the umpires also use it to calibrate themselves. So eventually they understand from the technology how things look, and they use it in their decision making.
While there was always a debate over the accuracy of the umpires, the debate got intense after India's tour of Australia, when umpire Steve Buckner gave as many as 7 incorrect decisions. It was in the backdrop of that series that the DRS was actually first implemented in a series between India versus Sri Lanka in July of 2008. Over the years, players have had different stances on DRS. Initially, there was confusion, and there were requests to the board to bring in certain restrictions to the technology. However, what do cricketers think of DRS in 2024? First, listen to Ross Taylor, who says that DRS has actually added a new dimension to the sport.
I've seen some footage of old games on Facebook and Instagram. I think a lot of the overseas players would have probably scored a few more runs. There was a few hairy decisions, which is natural. Where I think in this day and age there are mistakes, but definitely not as many as back in the day, so to speak. So no, I think DRS has added a new dimension, and if anything, bowlers have probably benefited a lot more in an LBW capacity, but also I think that howler where a player has got a big inside edge or hasn't nicked it but been given out, or, both ways, has gone out of the game a lot more than, say, 10, 15 years ago.
I asked Harbhajan Singh about his views on the DRS, and Bhajipa wasn't too convinced. Listen to him.
टेक्नोलॉजी अच्छी बात है अगर आप गेम में आते हैं, उसको गेम को आगे बढ़ाना है, थोड़ा सा लोगों का भी वो जो आप रुझान है ना वो दिखता है कि हाँ यार ये स्टंप पे बॉल लग रही है नहीं, बट आई समहाउ डोंट गेट कन्विंस्ड विद DRS सिस्टम. आई एम नॉट फुली inclined towards this कि यार ये बिल्कुल सही बता रहा है, क्योंकि जो बॉल का बाउंस है ना वो जज नहीं कर सकता कि कितना बॉल बाउंस हो रहा है. और एक चीज़ और जो मुझे बड़ी खटकती है कि जब हम मोहल्ले में क्रिकेट खेलनी शुरू करते हैं या किसी भी वहाँ पे जगह पे हम क्रिकेट खेलनी शुरू करते हैं, हमें दिखाया जाता है ये विकेटें हैं, विकेटों पे बॉल लगी आउट, वो इतनी लगी या इतनी लगी है आउट है. अगर स्टंप पे बॉल लगी, छू के गई या पूरी लगी, वो आउट है. और अगर अंपायर ने वो छूती हुई बॉल को नॉट आउट दे दिया तो वो नॉट आउट कैसे? क्योंकि अंपायर ने कहा. फिर आप DRS को क्यों इस्तेमाल कर रहे हो जब DRS दिखा रहा है कि स्टंप पे बॉल लग रही है? सो इट शुड बी गिवन आउट देन. सो आप टेक्नोलॉजी को ला भी रहे हो और उसकी बात भी नहीं मान रहे हो.
And then I spoke to S. Rishant on what was his view on DRS.
I wish this much of technology was there when we were playing. I would have got lot more wickets, and we would have actually missed some wickets also because inside LBW भी कभी out देते थे. Caught behind जो out नहीं मिलते थे, but caught behind जो out नहीं मिलते थे. तो yes, technology if it used wisely, I think it's brilliant because you got to accept the change and don't, as you rightly said, don't depend on it completely. Because now with the bowling machine, people are struggling to play swing because you don't really play swing or proper drifted or a loop wala spin. So technology has bought bowling machines, but you can never, maybe you never know, man. AI is taking over, so but leagues like this will keep it going.
Now listen to Courtney Walsh, the legendary West Indies fast bowler and captain, who tells me that DRS has actually made the game easier for the fans to understand and to engage with.
I think it has. I think it's been very interesting as well, but it's got more spectators involved, which is good. Because when the DRS comes into question, the stadium stops and everybody's looking at it, and there's anxiety, there's anticipation as to what might be happening. So for me personally, I think that's something that has helped the sports to grow, because a lot of people who probably didn't understand the game, you can explain it to them while it's going on. You could tell someone, well, okay, they're judging for the run out now. What the run out is the line, and so you can explain that in more detail. So persons who probably doesn't understand the game fully, and the ones who understand it, they're looking on keenly to say, well, okay, to my naked eye, I think it was out, but let's look back to check. So it has brought a lot of interest to the game.
Cricket is evolving. The technology around it is evolving. And so are the rules of cricket. And the umpires are perhaps the most impacted by it. Every decision that an umpire makes is constantly under scrutiny. And sometimes the stakes are just too high. I spoke to Adrian Griffith about the 2019 World Cup final and asked him that with the hindsight of 5 years now, whether he thinks that things could have possibly gone in a different way. This is what he said.
I think it was a difficult call. And if you think about it, you have a player throwing a ball that is 80 yards away. The umpires have to look at that, have to see when the guys are crossing to judge that when he threw it. It's okay to, in hindsight, to look at it and say and see it many times on TV to say, oh, they should have gotten that. I mean, it's you have to be in the moment. You have to understand what they went through. And yes, technically, by the rules, they should have gone a different way. But you have to see it. You have to see it on a day. And like I said, it's a human game. I know people will say, well, yeah, but you're changing lives and this and that. But it's a human game. But you have to take the factors into consideration. It was a very, very difficult decision from where the umpires stood, with the guy 80 yards away to have to look at 2 places at one time. So again, this is the sort of thing that technology may help in. But you play the games by the rules that you're playing by at the time, and I think we need to be fair and see things from all sides before and be fair to the match officials as well.
However, Coming back to technology, it not only benefits the players, but also those who watch the game. A cricket fan today has access to a much better quality of data than ever before. Tools like Cricinfo's Stats Guru actually gives you a detailed insight to each and every aspect of a team or an individual's performances ever since 1877. It even allows you to sort and search information. Other than these tools, even the visual representation has improved with time. Gone are the days of Big Bertha and Long Tom. If you're wondering as to who they are, these were the names of the giant cricket cameras that were used to shoot the matches in the early days of cricket. Today, with the Spider Cam and the drones, you get a much better visual experience than ever before. I spoke to Hemant Butch, a seasoned cricket broadcast professional who has been TV director of multiple IPL seasons and World Cup. Here is what he had to say.
You know that it has evolved very quickly, very rapidly. When television first started, grainy black and white images, and then we went on to color, but it was only one side coverage. So it was thought that people would get confused if you were to have coverage from both ends. So to let people know that somebody is bowling from the far end or the near end, you only had coverage from one side. So that changed. Cameras came in, more cameras came in. We had stuff like the ball follow camera coming in, slips cameras coming in. So more and more cameras came in over time. And now, of course, there's come a stage where when we used to cover with 4 or 5 cameras, now it's up to 30, 40, 50 cameras. And so every aspect of the game is covered from videotapes. We've gone on to the digital age. We've gone on to machines that work without tapes for replays and stuff. The speed of the cameras has improved. The resolution has improved. We are, into 4K cameras now, 8K as well. So from standard definition, we've gone up to 8K in my broadcast time. So lots has changed. Lots of technology come in. Stuff like ball tracking, stuff like player tracking. It's now I see with AI coming in, there will be even more changes, and there will be even more things that we can do with the available technology.
In my conversation with another professional called Michael, or we lovingly called him Mod, he spoke about how he has seen the change in the technology in cricket. From the days of radio to the modern day, Mod has been a professional who has produced multiple cricketing events around the world, and not just restricted to that, multiple other sporting events. And he has a view about the future about technology in broadcasting television events.
Cricket, it certainly has changed. It's a game that's always evolved. When you look at it from 180 years, I know we were discussing that before, how long it's gone, and it used to be print in those early days where people would write about it, and then radio evolved, and it was very descriptive then with radio when sounds were made. The famous Australian broadcaster Alan McGilvray used to say tap a wooden pencil on like a coconut shell to make the noise of the batsman of Bradman, for example, hitting a ball to the boundary. And then, of course, black and white television. There was some film done before that, but once it became to TV, that's where it really changed. And you remember it used to be coverage from one end only, and that's interesting as well. So you would always see from one bowler's end, but then when it flipped, the cameras would remain in the same position, and you would see the bowler coming to the batsman, and then the other one was bowling to the batsman. So that was a really big change when that changed for TV, when you could see from behind the bowler's arm. I think that's one of the most crucial aspects of television and broadcast for cricket. And then, things like super slow-mo, that was a very good innovation. The super slow-mo cameras were there for a long time. BBC used to use them on many sports, but they never put them behind the bowler. And Simon Wheeler, a very famous cricket director who I'd spent a lot of time with, an English guy, very cleverly thought, let's put spin vision behind the bowler's arm. That bowler happened to be Shane Warne in the West Indies in 1995. And from then on, broadcasters and producers and directors and the fans sort of wanted more and more.
With the wagon wheel and the worm, you now know how your favorite players and teams have been performing. Today, there are even options that forecast the match outcome. And it makes it great fun to watch when a team beats all the odds and wins even from the most precarious of positions. Another innovation has been called Stump Mic. That has given modern day cricket fans an even better perspective to the game. Who doesn't love the constant banter that Rishabh Pant shares with his teammates? I wonder if Stump Mic was available when the banter between Javed Miandad and Kiran More happened. Besides the mic, the camera work has also improved. In the recent editions of the IPL and the WPL, you can actually choose the camera angle you want to see the match from. You can also set up a split screen and watch the match as well as track your favorite players' activities on your screen. Wow! I would never take it off from MS Dhoni or Virat Kohli. Now, as we come to the end of this episode, I believe that a middle path needs to be followed here. While technology is indeed very good for certain use cases, relying too heavily on it can lead to analysis paralysis. I would like to share a conversation I had with Mohammad Kaif, who tells me about how there needs to be a good balance between technology and common sense.
इसीलिए someone like Mahendra Singh Dhoni and Rohit Sharma, no, I admire them. They have found the balance in terms of using technology and using your common sense in the game. क्योंकि जो game में situations आती हैं, हालात आते हैं, वो कंप्यूटर आपको नहीं बता पाएगा पहले. कितनी भी मीटिंग कर लो आप, पर मैच के दिन दबाव में वो कॉमन सेंस का इस्तेमाल होता है. वो आप ज़हनी कुव्वत है, ताकत है, जहाँ आप इस्तेमाल करते हो. धोनी साहब से बड़ा एग्जांपल कोई नहीं होगा. वो आते हैं नंबर, अभी आईपीएल में देखो आप, 4 बॉल खेलने आते हैं. और पहले लोग बोलते थे बॉस ना 19 ओवर में गेम खत्म कर दो. धोनी एज अ लीडर उनका, भाई कंप्यूटर छोड़ो,
दिमाग में सब.
हाँ, मुझे पता है एग्जैक्टली कि लास्ट ओवर की लास्ट बॉल पे इनफैक्ट गेंदबाज दबाव में होता है. पर धोनी हैज टेकन द गेम, ही हैज सीन द गेम डिफरेंटली. That's why probably the most instinct है, gut feel है, तजुर्बा है, सब कुछ है. उन्होंने सब कुछ ट्राई करके देख लिया कि भाई गेम को आपको लगता है ना इस बॉल पे छक्का मारना है, पर धोनी बोलेंगे नहीं यार, एक बॉल और डिले कर लो. अपना जो इंस्टिंक्ट है या गट फीलिंग है, एक बॉल थोड़ा डिले करो, देखते हैं क्या होता है. शायद ही बोल्स अ बैड बॉल, मैं वेट करता हूँ, फाइनल लेग पे चौका मिल जाएगा, यहाँ मिल जाएगा. हाँ, अगर उस बॉल पे रन नहीं है, फिर अगली बॉल पे आप जो बड़े शॉट की बात कर रहे हो, तो वो ऐसे प्लेयर है. हाँ, फिर वो कमिट होंगे, भाई अब तो छक्का मारना ही है. पर वो जो जब वो मोमेंट आता है कि भाई ये छक्के वाली मारने वाली बॉल है, पर वो कहते नहीं, मैं वेट करूँगा. तो ये महेंद्र सिंह धोनी है, ये रोहित शर्मा, गट फील पे बहुत काम करते हैं. दोनों में बहुत सिमिलरिटीज है.
Lastly, I would leave you with what Irfan Pathan had to say about the challenge today being using technology but not allowing it to fully control the player.
So there are a lot of people and a lot of ex-players thinks that it has handicap, but it's up to you how you want to use it. So I am a kind of guy who wants to take the help of technology, but I want to be in control. मुझे पूरी तरह से कंट्रोल चाहिए, क्योंकि मैं चलाऊंगा गेम. अगर मैं लीडर हूँ तो, और साथ ही में अगर मैं सपोज स्टाफ का हिस्सा हूँ, तो मैं यूज़ करूँगा टेक्नोलॉजी जितनी मुझे यूज़ करनी है. आई विल नॉट लेट इट कंट्रोल मी. सो आई थिंक ये बहुत बड़ा चैलेंजेस रहता है. कई जो पुराने खिलाड़ी है या कई जो कैप्टन है, वो बहुत ज़्यादा टेक्नोलॉजी के अंदर घुसते हैं, और कई है वो ये समझते हैं कि यार इसका कुछ भी फ़ायदा नहीं है. आपको एक ज़रूर हेल्प मिलता है टेक्नोलॉजी से, लेकिन ये मानना कि टेक्नोलॉजी सब कुछ है और वो टेक ओवर करना चाहिए, वो बिल्कुल सही नहीं है.
Cricket is changing. What are your views on this change in the game that technology has brought in? Where do you stand on the DRS? Let me know in the comments on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. You can follow 180 Not Out on all the social media handles. I'm Raman Raheja, and I'll see you next Monday with a new episode of 180 Not Out.
From humble beginnings, it started as a game. A battle ball, a field, and players with no fame. But little did they know, cricket would soon ignite a passion that would last through day and night. 180 not out, we're going strong.